What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam. Hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight, man. Hope you guys have had a great Tuesday. It's week 15 is upon us. Week 15 of the 2022 NFL season, of the 2022 fantasy football season. It's officially underway. The stakes are high for a majority of us. The fantasy playoffs are here. The pressure is on. We gotta get to that championship. So you guys know what time it is, man. Time for some live week 15 fantasy Q&A. So hop in the live chat. Let me know what you guys need. Start, sits, ads, drops, roster confidence, roster and non-confidence. Who's on your bench? Who should not be on your bench? Waiver wire. We still have time before the waiver wire goes through. Who are you eyeing as we approach the week? What injuries are you dealing with? What matchups are you concerned about? Whatever it may be, let me know. Let's have some fun. Let's talk some fantasy football. Only 4 weeks left, but for most of us, only 3 weeks left of fantasy football. I know a handful of you guys are playing through week 18, so we'll be rolling with content through week 18. But guys, the end is here. It's crazy, man. Like I said, pressure's on. Stakes are high. Keep in mind, guys, you know, what we're about here is a strong community that loves fantasy football. We're an outlet for you guys to come out and talk about fantasy and ask your fantasy questions. I'm always going to give you guys, you know, what I think is the best possible advice for your lineups on a weekly basis. But especially as we move into the playoffs, I just want to remind you guys, I am not always right. I make a lot of good calls, and I'm happy about that and proud of that. I make some bad calls too. We all do. It's fantasy football, man. At the end of the day, go with your gut. Follow your own conviction, because it's the playoffs. It's you're in or you're out, you know? So just want to remind you guys, you know, it's the pressure's on and I'm feeling it. But I'm not always correct with my calls. But we make a lot of good calls. We helped a lot of you guys get through the playoffs last year. Helped a lot of you guys win championships last year. So we helped a lot of you guys have very successful seasons so far on the year and make the playoffs. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And you know what they say, no pressure, no diamonds, right? So, all right, guys, I'm going to try and hop right into the chat tonight. So smash that like button for me, guys, if you haven't done so already. Let's try and get as many likes on the stream as possible. And let's get right into it, man. All right, let's start things off. Stephen Drakes with the $4.99 dono. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate the super chat tonight. Of course, if you guys want your question answered right away, you can throw in a super chat. But I will get through all the questions tonight, regardless. All right, what we got here, Stephen? Do you think Ramondre's out for a while? I mean, I hope not. It's going to be kind of a tough read, you know. We're still only like about less than 24 hours out from the injury he suffered last night. So we know it's an ankle injury. We don't know necessarily if it's a low or high ankle injury. And if I'm not mistaken, he dealt with a knee injury in this game as well. So we're going to have to kind of keep an eye on this. You know, the severity of the injury is unclear according to the Sleeper app. We're going to cross our fingers we get a more clear answer in the coming days. It's a good matchup for Stevenson in week 15 if he can play against the Raiders. But at the moment, Pierre Strong, who's rostered in 3% of fantasy leagues, is looking like a strong waiver wire pickup. Damian Harris was inactive. We don't really know what's going on with Damian Harris. So we need to keep an eye on both Harris and Pierre Strong going into the weekend. You know, for those of you who own Ramondre Stevenson, we need to keep a strong eye on him. But if it's truly just an ankle injury, like, it's just so tough to read with, you know, the level of uncertainty that we have right now. But this could be a 1 week thing. It could be like a 3 week thing. So I wouldn't drop him yet for sure. I would not drop Stevenson by any means, but we're going to have to kind of wait and see what happens. Ayuk, Pittman, or Mostart for the flex, half PPR. Man, those Dolphin running backs just not looking very good in their last 2 matchups, and the game script has not benefited them. And really, I would argue the last 3 matchups overall. So regardless, right? They get the Buffalo Bills this week. I just wouldn't start Mostart right now. I mean, the fact that he was like held in check by the Chargers is disgusting. The Chargers have not played well against the run on the season. Pittman's got a really good matchup. Pittman is definitely a play you can consider. I still like Ayuk. You know, I argued for him last week, and he kind of saved his stat line with the touchdown grab. Only 2 receptions, 57 receiving yards, and the score got him to 13.7 fantasy points. A little bit of a tougher matchup this week. The Seattle Seahawks have played very well against the wide receiver position, and Debo is probably going to miss the rest of the fantasy season. Expected to miss about 3 weeks, right? So that makes Ayuk the #1 receiver, and that's a tough matchup this week for Ayuk. So I still think like the volume should be pretty good for Brandon Ayuk. A little bit of a steeper matchup. It's an important game for both these teams. It's a really important game for both these teams. So I think Ayuk is still a good start, but when we look at the matchups overall, I'll go with Michael Pittman. Call me crazy, man. It's tough though. Because at the end of the day, bro, you're playing a half PPR league. So, like, when we look at Ayuk, Pittman, and Mostart, whoever scores a touchdown is probably going to be the best play of the week. Michael Pittman has 2 touchdowns on the year, but he's easily got the best matchup against the Vikings. This unit has been really bad against opposing receivers on the season, and they're absolutely banged up right now. I mean, they've just gotten torn apart the last 2 weeks. So, I actually like Michael Pittman here. Call me crazy. I don't hate Ayuk. I think Ayuk's kind of the floor. Pittman gives you a little bit more upside, man. So, Steven, let me know if that was helpful, man. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to break down. All right, top of the chat for me starts with Bud Smoker. If you guys were before him in the chat, go ahead and throw your question back in the chat so I can get to it. But I'm going to start at the top, and for me, that starts with Bud Smoker. What's going on, bro? Pick 3, McKinnon, ETN, Rachaad White, Dillon, Dobbins, and Standard. I go Dobbins for sure. He's got a gorgeous matchup. He's coming off a really good performance last week. I go with Dobbins for sure and Standard. I actually do like A.J. Dillon as well. I think that both A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones bring pretty good floors to the table this week against the Rams. A.J. Dillon's looked good in his last 2 matchups, you know. He's got a touchdown in his last 2 games, 17 or more fantasy points. So I think he's a good start in Standard. The next decision is kind of tough, right? You know, you got ETN in kind of a tough matchup against the Cowboys. I don't love the game script there. He hasn't looked good in the last 2 games due to poor game script and bad matchups. McKinnon versus Rachaad White is really interesting because, like, Rachaad White for me, you know, is a player I've argued for over like the last 2 weeks as a start. But the reason I've been arguing for him is because of the PPR upside. You know, at least 5 targets and 5 receptions in his last 3 games. But in standard scoring, that doesn't do a lot for you. Like, he had 5.7 points last week in standard, 10.7 in PPR, 10.9 actually in weeks 13 and 12 in standard and PPR scoring formats. He had 16.9 and 19.9 those 2 weeks. So he's a much, you know, in terms of his receiving work, he's been much better in PPR. He gets the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Like, he's gonna have to score to really be relevant for you. And Leonard Fournette and him are capping each other's scoring capabilities. So McKinnon, on the other hand, is also interesting because he holds a lot more value at the end of the day in full PPR, right? Like, if you look at McKinnon in the last 2 weeks, he ran the ball pretty well in week 13, 6.3 yards per carry, 51 yards on the ground off of 8 rushing attempts. But, like, where he's making his bank in fantasy is through the receiving game, right? But the key thing on top of that is, like, he's getting receiving touchdowns. So in standard, it still helps you. He gets the Houston Texans this week. I go with McKinnon, man. Too good of a matchup. I go McKinnon, even though Pacheco is going to get a lot of work in this game. I go McKinnon, Dillon, and Dobbins. That's my answer for you. Let me know what you think. Kells, what's going on? Swift, Rachaad White, Dobbins, Fournette, pick 1. I go Dobbins. I'm standing by Dobbins this week. I think he's going to have a really good game. Looked really good last week. The Browns are the 3rd worst team in the league against opposing running backs. I go with Dobbins. I think Swift's okay. I mean, like, all these options are perfectly fine, Kells. Really good options, but I'd roll with Dobbins. I really would. Armando, what's going on? Should I start Justin Fields or Jared Goff? It's a tough one. It's crazy. It's a tough one, right? Goff gets the Jets. He's had 17 or more fantasy points in his last 3 games. The Jets haven't played phenomenal against the quarterback position. They haven't played awful, though. Listen, it's really tough I was literally thinking about Justin Fields because he's on the thumbnail for the night. Like before I started the stream, like I warned you guys for like weeks because when Justin Fields really emerged earlier in the season, like there's a lot of you guys like willing to trade your other quarterback who you didn't get off waivers or whatever, or just drop your other, have no other plan at quarterback. And like obviously we had the bye week in week 14 I was concerned about, but then he gets Philly and Buffalo in these next two games. Not as concerned about Buffalo as I am Philly because if I'm not mistaken, Philly has given up the least amount of fantasy points to the quarterback position so far on the season. So like I listen, I love the upside of Fields. Like I encourage you guys to start him in week 13 against the Packers. He got you 21.2 fantasy points, but this week I'm kind of struggling, And I just want to clarify, I want to fact check myself. Yeah, Philly has given up literally the least amount of fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks on the season. So they are the toughest matchup possible. But Justin Fields just so dynamic, so special. Oh my God. I mean, he has at least one rushing touchdown in every game since week 7. Like he finds a way to get it done. He has 60 or more rushing yards in every game since week 6. Like I think I still go Justin Fields. I think I'm going to stand by Fields this week. I think the upside is too high. Chat, let me know what you guys think. Are you guys willing to risk it with Fields against Philly this weekend? Diego's 2 wide receivers to start. Flex 1, Stephon Diggs, D-Hop, Metcalf, Olave. Oh gosh. I go Diggs. Like obviously you're starting Diggs. I go Metcalf. I'm not benching Metcalf. He's got a great matchup this weekend. Believe it or not, the Niners have given up the 10th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. Like I know we think of that defense and we get kind of scared, but I would not set Metcalf right now. Your wide receiver 13 on the season. He's playing great, man. It's so hard to bench DeAndre Hopkins. So I think Olave is actually a really good start. I've got him as actually in the must-start video. The Falcons have given up the 5th most fantasy points to wide receiver position. And it's interesting, right? Because Olave draws a tough matchup while that secondary as a whole has played poorly. We know A.J. Terrell's back and healthy, and he's looked good against number 1 receivers. But Hopkins, on the other hand, is also interesting because he's going to draw Pat Surtain of the Denver Broncos. And this is, the Broncos just, I know last week was a little bit different, but so far on the season, like they don't give up a lot of points. They don't give up good fantasy stat lines, especially to the wide receiver position. Then you got Colt McCoy tossing the rock around as opposed to Kyler Murray. So it's a really tough call on that last one between Olave and Hopkins, but I just can't imagine benching Hopkins. Like if it's me, I'd probably go Diggs, D-Hop, and Metcalf, but I don't necessarily rule Olave out over D-Hop. As crazy as that sounds, just due to the circumstances that the Arizona Cardinals have. So let me know what you think about that, Diego. Kels, Fournette, Slayton, Corey Davis in the flex. I'd probably go Fournette. I might go Slayton. I do think Slayton will bounce back this week. I don't know exactly what that means, but on a really consistent pace, and obviously getting back to earth against the Philadelphia Eagles, the entire Giants team did. Pretty good matchup against the Washington Commanders this week. Their strong suit of that defense is not the secondary, so you could go Slayton, maybe for a little bit more upside, a little bit more risk. Fournette, I still think brings a really safe floor overall. Gets the Bengals, not the best matchup, but I think Fournette's okay this week. Corey Davis, big question mark for me after last week. He's a little banged up, right? Andrea, hello, what's going on? Jason, hello. Flex 1 if Higgins doesn't play. Walker on his first week back. Pittman, Johnson, Rashad White, or Hollywood. Man, I am worried about Hollywood Brown right now. I'd probably go Walker. But Pittman's a decent option. I think Pittman's actually going to have a pretty decent week. And Rashad White is still a player you can always consider as long as it's full PPR. So I personally would probably go Rashad White. If Walker's back, like if he's good to go, I'm starting Walker. He's just been too good on the season that if he's good to go, even against the Patriots, I still start him. And the Patriots defense, didn't look great last night. They looked good, but they didn't look great at the same time. It was kind of weird, James Conner had a really good game against them, so I'm not necessarily concerned about Kenneth Walker, I guess is what I'm saying. But It's tough. You got some good options. Walker, Pittman, Rashad White kind of stand out to me, though. If it was my roster, if Walker's healthy, I'm probably going Walker. If not, I'd probably go Rashad White, and I would definitely consider Pittman. Elliot, what's going on, man? Good to see you, bro. Hello, hello. Armando, Fields over Goff. Yeah, like I said, I probably would go Fields. Jeff, need one running back, one receiver, one flex out of Waddle. Maybe a snow game. Judy, Hollywood, J.K. Dobbins, or Rashad White. Yeah, so is Judy going to get suspended or whatever? He's probably just going to face fines. Okay, so he's probably not going to be suspended. I'd probably stick with Judy after last week. We liked Judy going in the last week, too. I don't know if Cortland Sutton's going to be good to go. Like, that was part of the reason why I really liked him. Also, Kansas City hasn't played well against the receiver position. But, all right, so let's hone back in here. One running back, one receiver, one flex. I go J.K. Dobbins for your running back against the Browns. I go Judy, and I go Rashad White. I'm not out on Waddle by any means, but we just want to pay attention. Like, we were a little hesitant going into the week, but my final answer was, like, you just don't bench a guy like Jalen Waddle, and I think that's fine to say this week as well, even coming off of a poor performance last week. But if it is a snow game, we probably want to bench Waddle. So, right now, I probably have Judy, Dobbins, and Rashad White in, and I keep a close eye on Waddle in that game as a whole. Diego, still surprised I was 0-5 made playoffs. Let's go, bro. Kells, Mac Hollins, Corey Davis, Nico Collins, pick one. If Nico Collins is healthy, I go Nico Collins. Call me crazy. Good matchup for him. The Texans receivers have really good matchups to finish the year, including the Chiefs this week. So I think he's actually okay in full PPR, of course. Any other format, I don't want to start him. And then I go Mac Hollins, and then Corey Davis, who I'm pretty torn on. Goff or Watson, I will go Goff personally. But I do think like Watson's going to improve each week of the season. So Watson you can consider. He played a little bit better last week as opposed to week 13. Abraham, what's going on, man? Kells, Goff, Mike White, Huntley, pick one, must win. I go Mike White if he's healthy. I love Mike White this week. The Lions have given up the most fantasy points to the quarterback position so far on the season. I go Mike White. If he's not good, I go Goff. Gob, what's going on, man? Good to see you, bro. What's going on? Start to Eckler, Barkley, Walker, Sanders. Ooh. You got to start Eckler. You just can't bench Austin Eckler. It's a tough matchup for him, but it just doesn't matter because he's going to be involved in the receiving game. You know, he's your running back one in full PPR. You know, 24.4 points last week against the Dolphins, 45 yards on the ground, a touchdown, 8 receptions, 59 receiving yards. Like, it just doesn't matter. You know, since week 6, he's had 6 or more targets in every game except for week 11 against the Chiefs. You know, on the season, he has 6 or more targets in every game except for 3 games. Like, the receiving work's going to be there. Tennessee can defend the run, and that's about it. They got a pretty good pass rush as well, but like Eckler's going to be fine. Barkley is where it gets kind of interesting because like last week, I was like, you just don't bench Barkley, man. He gets the Commanders this week, another tough matchup. I think what happened last week really didn't have to do with the neck injury. This is an awful game script. Giants playing from behind. The Eagles torching the Giants all game. Giants pulled their starters like pretty early. Like I would just say Barkley had 19.1 points against Washington in week 13, which was just 2 weeks ago. I'm not really worried about Barkley. I think you stick with your guys. I think you go Eckler and Barkley. But I really do like Miles Sanders this week. He's got a really good matchup against the Bears. So if you were too concerned about Barkley, if that is a feeling you have, you can go Sanders. But Kells, I'm going Pittman and dome matchup. That's a no-brainer. I think Pittman's going to have a good week. Bob France Fishing, what's going on, man? Pick 2 flex options, full PPR. Najee, Mike Evans, Christian Watson, Chris Olave, Dobbins. You got to go Christian Watson, guys. If you own Christian Watson, he needs to be in your lineups this week. He is a must-start player. The Rams are in the bottom 10 in the league against the wide receiver position from a fantasy perspective. Jalen Ramsey will float in this game. It'll be kind of all over the place, but Allen Lazard is going to help take away some of that defensive pressure. Watson will make plays in this game. He has been way too good in his last 4 starts. He has like 7 touchdowns in his last 4 games. You have to start Watson. I do like Olave this week, but I go J.K. Dobbins here, man. Dobbins gets the Browns. He looked really good last week. I go Watson and Dobbins for sure. Abraham, tough decisions. 1 running back, 1 receiver, 1 flex. We got Sanders, Najee, Knight, Pittman, McLaurin, Chark. Got Jacobs and JJ starting. I go Miles Sanders. Really good matchup for him against the Browns. I go Bam Knight this week. Good enough matchup, competitive enough game script against the Lions for him. That would be your flex. The wide receiver is pretty difficult because you got DJ Chark, who's been playing pretty well. You would assume that Sauce Gardner will line up against Amon-Ra in that game. You got Pittman in a good matchup. Then you got McLaurin going up against the Giants, who got absolutely roasted last week by the wide receiver position. I would probably go with McLaurin. Yeah, he's played the best overall on the season. You know, he's a player you went out and you drafted for a reason. I'd probably go McLaurin. You know, his last game was week 13 against the Giants. He had 24.5 fantasy points in that game. That was a season high. Give me McLaurin. Tough there because Pittman's got a good matchup and Chark has looked good. Good game script for Chark, but I'll go Pittman. Or excuse me, I'll go McLaurin. I'm sorry. So I'd have Sanders, Bam Knight, and McLaurin in your lineup. Elliott got a playoff team with Evans and Waddle backed up by Pickens and Burks. Would you drop Kmet? Also have Dulcich for Elijah or Dotson? If you're going to roll with Greg Dulcich to finish the year, like, that's okay. You know, like, if you just want to have one tight end and not worry about it, that's fine. I think that Kmet, you know, I'm going to check the strength of schedule here for you to finish the year. But, you know, Greg Dulcich has the Cardinals this week. It's a beautiful matchup. Then he gets the Rams in Kansas City. The Rams allowing are 20th overall against position. Kansas City 21st overall. Or let's reverse. So the Rams are like the 12th team and the Chiefs are like the 11th team. So those aren't the best matchups, in other words. Is Russ going to play this week? Like, I didn't put Greg Dulcich as a must-start tight end because I don't know if Russ was going to play, and that worries me, you know. But let's see. Russ is in protocol, so we'll see what happens there. But on the other hand, Cole Kmet to finish the year. Let's check that as well. I wish I had a better way to do this outside of checking my phone. I probably do. Cole Kmet gets the Eagles, tough matchup. Buffalo, tough matchup. Then Cole Kmet's got a really good matchup in the fantasy playoffs against the Detroit Lions, so keep that in mind. But if you do drop Kmet here, I would do it for Elijah Moore. I think he's on a little bit of a better trajectory to finish the year. So, Evans has been struggling. Waddle's been banged up. Might see some bad weather. Burks has been banged up. Pickens has Mitchell Trubisky throwing the football now. Felt like he had better chemistry with Kenny Pickett, although he's got a very favorable strength of schedule. So, if you're going to drop one, which it looks like looking at your receivers, it might make sense. I go for Elijah Moore. But Kmet versus Greg Dulcich is interesting for sure. It's really tough. Kmet's got 2 tough matchups in a row, though, before he gets the Lions. So, Abraham, Dak or Kirk, by the way, it's a full PPR for the previous question. I still stick with Sanders, Knight, and McLaurin there, but I'll go Dak. I like Dak this week. I think he's going to have a good game. Kirk is fine. Like, you know what you get when you start Kirk Cousins, you know. Decent enough matchup against the Colts, so... but you know what you get out of Kirk Cousins. Like, I would say that Dak's floor is a lot safer, you know. Like, we look at Cousins in the last 4 weeks, 2.2, 22.8, 11.8, 25. The ceiling's good. The floor is not good. You know, when we look at Dak, on the other hand, and his last 4 performances, 15.6, 17.8, 16.8, 20.6. So the floor is a little bit better there. The ceiling, we include the last 2 matchups beforehand, is about the same. I do think this is going to be a game in Jacksonville where we see a little bit of a more competitive game script. Overall, since Dak's return, he's played better in away games from a fantasy perspective as opposed to home games. He also has 5 interceptions in his last 3 games. He actually has 7 interceptions since week 10. We got to get those interceptions down. And he also has 2 fumbles, although they weren't lost fumbles. But still, that affects your fantasy stat line. So, like, you know, he's thrown, or he's scored at least, no, that's not true. He has scored enough touchdowns in the last couple of weeks to, you know, be considered a start and everything. So it's just those interceptions really coming into the stat line. So I still go Dak at the end of the day. I like Dak this week. So, all right, Bob France. Who should I drop between Palmer, London, Pickens, or Deshaun Watson? I have Fields and Geno. In my opinion, if you have Justin Fields and Geno Smith, you can drop Deshaun Watson. I just don't really see a world where you're going to need to start Watson over either of those guys, you know? It's not like, I mean, Watson gets the Ravens this week, Geno gets the Niners, and Fields gets the Eagles. Like, it's not really a good matchup for any of these quarterbacks, but, you know, Geno's your quarterback 6, Fields is your quarterback 5, if I'm not mistaken. I would just stick with those 2 guys, man. Let's see here. You know, Palmer, London, and Pickens have pretty favorable schedules to finish the year, Bob. So I hold on to them. Derek, what's going on, bro? Good to see you, man. Hello, hello. Andrew, should I drop Debo? I think it's safe to drop Debo. Yeah, I mean, I just got an alert that he was dropped in one of my leagues like a few moments ago. I think it's safe, you know. What we have in terms of the report is that he's expected to miss roughly 3 weeks, dealing with an ankle injury. According to Kyle Shanahan, he's expected to miss about 3 weeks. He suffered an MCL sprain and a sprained ankle against the Bucs. Jeez. A lot of injuries, man. A lot of injuries for Debo, man. Sad. It really is. Probably going to finish the year as a top 30 receiver, but just sad, man. I think it's safe to drop Debo unless you play through week 18, which I don't think you do, Andrew. Albert, what's going on? Hello, hello. Kels, would you drop Corey Davis for Elijah Moore? I would personally. I would. Mark, Burke's worth a flex play if he comes back this week against the Chargers. I also got Swift, A.J. Dillon, Drake London as options too, but don't 100% trust. I think Burks is fine against the Chargers. This should be a game script where the Titans are going to need to throw the football. The Chargers have played better against the run as of late, but Derrick Henry, in my opinion, is still going to have a really good game. But yeah, I think Burks is definitely worth a flex spot with what he did in those, 3 games before he suffered the concussion, or I guess the game including the concussion. Even though he only had 1 grab and went for a touchdown, it was an impressive touchdown, 25-yard reception, right? I think you still go Burks because I think that the Titans, especially with how bad their secondary is, and the weapons Justin Herbert has, they're going to have to be throwing the football in this game. So I do like A.J. Dillon this week. I don't want to take a leap of faith on Drake London quite yet with Desmond Ridder, quarterback. It can't be much worse than Marcus Mariota. And London's got a really good strength of schedule, but I go Burks, and then I'd probably go A.J. Dillon. Swift is okay, but he's got a little bit of a tougher matchup against the Jets. Let's see here. Eric, 11-3 in playoffs, about ready to bench Chubb. Oh, man. It's just tough because it's like a little bit of a different dynamic. For whatever reason, since Watson's return, the Browns are like running the football less. It feels like. But really, when you look at the numbers, they're not really, because like Chubb still had 14 touches in week 14 and 17 in week 13. But their run game has just struggled a little bit more. So it's been interesting, right? But these last 2 games have been away games. This week is a home game against Baltimore. I don't know if that's going to make a difference. Chubb is still your RB6. I can't imagine a world where, I always encourage you guys to not bench players like that because the upside is way too high to it's just like if a player like Chubb or Barkley goes off and you have them on your bench, you're gonna be so upset. Gosh, dude, that was an awful sneeze. That's like, I swear, like 7 streams in a row where we've sneezed on stream. I just saw the replay of that. That was like ugly to watch. I'm sorry, guys. Excuse me. All right, Ander. What's up, Catch fam? What's good, bro? Playoffs underway. What a season. Hope everyone's lineups are ready. 100%. After the review, what's up, bro? Cheers to everyone who made the playoffs. I got buys in both my leagues because of the Catch fam. Let's get it, bro. Appreciate you coming out tonight. Good to see you, my dude. Jelly of the month. Need a receiver replacement for Higgins off the wire. Lazard or Elijah Moore? I go Elijah Moore against the Rams. Or excuse me, Elijah Moore against the Lions. Lazard against the Rams. Yeah, I go Elijah Moore. Detroit and New York. Looks like a matchup we want to try and exploit. Elliott, happy PPR start 1. Bam Knight, Waddle, Chark. Also have Goff versus White decision with Lamar questionable and an injured Ramondre. I go Bam Knight. Yeah, I mean, I like Waddle and Chark, but Waddle might be in a snow game. Maybe it's still a little bit banged up. Wasn't as productive last week. Half PPR, I go Bam Knight. I gravitate towards the running back position. I mean, really hard to bench a guy like Waddle, so we want to keep an eye on the weather there, you know? All right, Skyo, what's going on, man? Geno Smith or Mike White or Tannehill? Man, it's really tough because I still like Geno Smith this week. And, like, the Niners defense is a very good defense. Their secondary hasn't played as good on the season. So I still think that I think the Seahawks are going to have a good day, actually. I'm not, like, completely out on the Seahawks. I know we think about San Francisco, who is the 4th best team in the league against opposing quarterbacks, and we get a little queasy. But I just have that feeling that the Hawks, like, this is such an important game in terms of this division for both these teams. I think the Seahawks are going to come to play, but it's still a scary matchup. So, I mean, Geno is literally your quarterback 6 on the season, you know? So, I would still consider Geno, but if you're not comfortable, go Mike White against the Lions. The Lions have allowed the most points to opposing quarterbacks on the year. Andrew, who should be wide receiver number 2? Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, Michael Pittman, or Nico Collins? Yeah, lots of good options here. Lots of good options. Man. I mean, like, you know, you would think it'd be Christian Kirk. He gets the Cowboys. You know, he lines up in the slot primarily, so it'll be interesting to see where Diggs lines up, but I'd probably go Christian Kirk. He's just played the best on the season. I think Michael Pittman's got a really good opportunity this week, though. I'd probably go with Christian Kirk, but it's just a little bit worrisome anytime anyone plays the Cowboys, but I'll go Christian Kirk. Kells, Mac Hollins or Elijah Moore? I will go Elijah Moore. Alligator Dog. Ooh, we got a name switcheroo. What's up, man? RIP Mike Leach, 100%, man. 100%. Rest in peace to Mike Leach, man. Skyo, pick 1. Defensive string, Green Bay versus the Rams, Vikings versus Colts, Browns versus Ravens. I would go with Green Bay versus the Rams, but there's definitely reason to consider the other two. Keep an eye on the Browns. It just depends what quarterback we get out there because that's still up in the air, but right now I go Green Bay. Tyler, start Josh Allen or Trevor Lawrence? Josh Allen for sure, man. I mean, Miami is like the fifth worst team in the league against opposing quarterbacks, so you got to have Josh Allen in. But keep in mind, it is a snow game, potentially. So if it is a snow game, you could go with Trevor Lawrence, but he still has a tough matchup against the Cowboys. So I might just go with Josh Allen, you know. Pray, what's going on, man? Shay, what's going on? Should I play Kittle or Jeff Driscoll? Kittle for sure. Yeah, not even close. Kittle for sure. I think Kittle's, who's been frustrating the past couple weeks, is still a player that we definitely want to start this week. You know, at the end of the day, the Seahawks are literally the 2nd worst team in the league against opposing tight ends. I think Kittle gives you a huge advantage this week. I think he's going to have a really nice week. Prey got Madden 23. Let's go. Wendy Cush, 7-7 in 6th place versus number 3 seed. Would you change anything? Quarterback is Allen. Running back is Cook. RB2 is Pollard. We got Waddle, Lazard, Henry, Pacheco. Niners defense. Ayuk on the bench. Carter, Patterson, Everett, Cowboys defense. I there's a couple things I look at here. Hunter Henry, I'm not as confident in this week. You know, the Cardinals have given up the most points to the position so far on the year. So, like, him having 10 fantasy points last week off of 3 receptions is because the Cardinals, for whatever reason, just cannot defend the tight end position. He still gets a good matchup this week against the Raiders, so I don't mind, like, ultimately having him in there. But I would definitely consider Gerald Everett. I really like Everett against the Titans. They have given up a ton of points to the tight end position so far on the season. They've given up the 4th most points. And they just gave up like 40 points to Evan Ingram last week. So I would consider Everett over Hunter Henry. But both are okay starts. I would consider Brandon Ayuk over Allen Lazard as well. I know it's not necessarily the best matchup for Brandon Ayuk at the end of the day, and he's going to have to line up as the wide receiver 1 with Debo out. But I think the volume is going to be really good, and I kind of worry about Lazard's production as of late. Plus, he'll see Ramsey at certain points in this game, although overall the Rams have played really poorly against opposing receivers. Lazard is just kind of hard to trust and doesn't bring a crazy high ceiling, you know, with the emergence of Christian Watson as such a, legit, I'm trying to plug my phone in, there we go, such a legit red zone option. So I might go leave things how they are, but go Ayuk and Everett at their respective positions. And then keep in mind Waddle might be playing in the snow, so, you know, it might be something to consider there as well. Cowboys versus Niners defense is really close as well. I might go the Cowboys, but it's really close. Blurpy, what's going on, man? Etienne, Zonovan, or Evans? I go Zonovan. Wendy, I also got Higgins. I don't know what to do with T. Higgins. I don't know if we can ever trust starting T. Higgins again. Jonesy, first round playoff bye, clinched at 9-5. Top seed is 10-4. Let's go, bro. Enjoy that bye week. Suave, what's going on, man? Who do you like better this week? Green Bay's defense at home or Commanders' defense? I go with the Commanders. I got a weird feeling about that Rams offense. Call me crazy. So, I'll go with the Commanders. But if you don't have better options, I do think you can still go with Green Bay. I got a weird feeling there. All right, Kelly, with the super chat, thank you so much. Emojis in the chat for Kelly. Thank you. Appreciate the $5 dono. With your help, I made the playoffs. The catch is the best. Thank you. Let's go. I appreciate that so much. I'm so happy that you made the playoffs. So happy that, I mean, like, we ran the stream last night after Monday Night Football was finishing up, and just, like, literally titled the stream, "Did you make the fantasy playoffs?" Like, it felt like 95% of you guys made the playoffs, so I was super happy. I know not everyone was in the chat and everything last night, but everybody came out last night. You know, it was like all good reports. There were a couple of you guys who, like, didn't make it in one of your particular leagues, but overall made it in a majority of your leagues. So let's go. I'm so happy you guys are, you know, you guys killed it this year and everything. I've been happy to help you guys as much as I possibly can and give you guys my my advice and my opinions on everything. So I appreciate you guys so much, man. I appreciate everything that you guys do for the channel. And Kelly, I appreciate the $5 dono. It means a lot. It really helps us out. So thank you so much. All right, Jonesy, shout out to you. Shout out to the Catch fam. Let's go. Derek in the chat. Derek says, hit the thumbs up. Guys, we got 16 likes on the stream. Can we get 220 likes? Smash that like button for me. All right, Falcons fan, what's going on? I got Geno, Kamara, Sanders, Wilson, Cook, Pollard, Fearmouth, Greggy D, Diggs, Waddle, Higgins, Pittman, Hollywood Brown. Start one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. Would you look elsewhere at quarterback this week? I think Geno will be okay. Kind of struggled to start the game last week and still had 23 points. This secondary for the Niners isn't their strong suit. I think Metcalf and Lockett are going to have really good days, and in turn, Geno is still a pretty safe quarterback to play this week. I'm more concerned about the running back position, if anything. So based on this matchup, I go Geno. I go Kamara. I think Kamara's going to bounce back against the Falcons. I go with Miles Sanders. He's going to have a big week against the Bears. Really good matchup for him. I go Pollard in the flex. Still got to start Pollard. He's got a beautiful matchup. I go Pat Freiermuth. If he's not healthy, you can start Greg Dulcich. Dulcich gets the Cardinals. It's a great matchup for him, but ultimately on the season, I just love me some Pat Freiermuth. But Freiermuth is questionable at the moment, so let's keep an eye on that. Greg Dulcich is a great backup option. You got to start Diggs, no question about it. Waddle, Higgins, Pittman. I would have Waddle in there, but keep an eye on things. If that game looks like it's going to be a blizzard, then I will go Pittman. Higgins, I just don't trust Higgins, man. It's like twice this year he's done that. He's not doing anything. The coaching staff is doing it, you know. If Higgins is, he's day-to-day. If he's good to go, you can go Higgins. You know, your wide receiver 2 spot's kind of open. Keep an eye on Higgins' health. Keep an eye on Waddle's health, but more importantly, the weather for that game. I don't like Hollywood Brown this week. I don't like the matchup for him. Colt McCoy throwing the football. I don't like Brown this week. Pittman's got a good matchup, though. Like, if everything fails, you can go Pittman. The Vikings have not played well against the receiver position. So, to wrap it up, I think you'll be okay with Geno. Go Alvin Kamara, Miles Sanders, Pollard in the flex, Freiermuth, Dulcich is still okay. Diggs for sure, and then kind of keep an eye on the wide receiver 2 spot there. Mark, see a lot of questions about Fields. My 2 cents. Unless you have Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, Burrow, no need to stress about playing Fields. Top 10 quarterback since week 6, even with a separated shoulder. See, like, I agree. I think that we roll with Fields this week, you know, like, because we talked about this earlier in the season when Fields was really emerging. Like, he's going to have this stretch with the bye week, then 2 tough matchups against Philadelphia and Buffalo. But, like, you know, he played really well against Dallas in week 8, 26 points. He played really well against New England in week 7, 24 points. Those are like 2 toughest matchups he's had on the season during that kind of emergence for him, you know. I think we roll with Fields, like you're saying, unless you have one of those top quarterbacks. There might be a couple other options I consider. Like, I personally really like Justin Herbert this week against the Tennessee Titans, but it just kind of depends. But, you know, when we look at the quarterback position, especially with Lamar Jackson still banged up, with Kyler Murray being out, Russell Wilson's banged up, although, you know, we probably weren't going to start Russell Wilson over Justin Fields, but you get what I'm saying, you know. I think that Fields is going to be a start for a lot of you guys this week. I think I'm okay with it, too. Suave, are we dropping Dameon Pierce for high upside running back handcuffs? He's probably going to miss this week, and then he gets Tennessee in a tough matchup in week 16 if he's able to play. Does get Jacksonville, which is a pretty decent matchup in the championship game, so it just depends. Depends on your other running backs. It's a good question, though. Little bunny hop in the house. What's good, my dude? How are you doing, man? Great to have you. Roster for playoffs. We got Fields, Aaron Jones, Swift, Diggs, Godwin, T-Hawk, Mike Williams, Cooper, Cardinals D. Looks great, man. Should I swap anyone on my bench? Dak, Jay Willie, Lenny, Christian Watson. I would have Christian Watson in your lineup, man. I would have him in over Amari Cooper. Cooper a little bit banged up. The last 2 performances with Watson at quarterback haven't been as good for Cooper. 6.2 points last week, 8 points in week 13. He's at home this week. Baltimore secondary hasn't played great overall, but I still like this Baltimore defense. Man, Christian Watson's got to be in your starting lineup. It's a beautiful matchup for him. He's a must-start player in my eyes. The Rams have not played well against the receiver position. Allen Lazard's going to help take some of that pressure from Jalen Ramsey. Christian Watson's got to be in your lineup, man. He's on fire. He's on your team, man. You got to start at Cheesehead. You know you got to have him in your lineup, right? So, Fields, Aaron Jones, Swift, Diggs, Godwin, T-Hawk, Mike Williams, and Christian Watson with the Cardinals defense is a gorgeous lineup, man. I think Prescott's going to have a pretty good week, but take the upside with Fields, man. It's a great roster overall, man. Good to see you, Bunny Hop. Roger, would you pick Zamir Knight rest season if you have Eckler, White, and Zeke? I would pick up Knight for sure. I would probably have Eckler and Zeke in my lineups right now, though. But Zamir Knight Donovan Knight, I'm sorry, is definitely a player that we can continue to start as well. Pray, would you trade Henry for McCaffrey for the playoffs? Don't you own both of these players? What do you ask me, Pray? They both have really favorable playoff schedules. I'd probably rather have McCaffrey, I guess, due to the more PPR upside, but both are going to have really good playoffs. Jeff, made a mistake on my last question. Just one receiver and one flex out of Waddle, Judy, Dobbins, White. I would start Judy for now with the weather looking bad for the Dolphins and Bills, but we'll keep an eye on that. And then I would start Dobbins. Dobbins going to have a good week, man. Suave, Rashad White versus Sincere Etienne. I go Rashad White. I'm worried about Etienne again this week. But don't drop Etienne. Please don't drop Travis Etienne. Looked a little bit bleak. Bad game scripts, bad matchups. Probably going to continue in the next 2 weeks against Dallas and the Jets. But he gets to Texas in Week 17 in the Fantasy Championship. Thank you, guys. That was a really intense sneeze. Thank you, Eric, Elliot, Derek. Appreciate you guys. Niner MMA quarterback question: Mike White or Brock Purdy, Watson or Sam Darnold? If Mike White is healthy, we start Mike White. The Lions have allowed the most fantasy points to the quarterback position on the season. We continue to roll with Mike White. If he does not go, I think a chance on Brock Purdy this week. I mean, he's looking pretty good. I probably would go with the quarterbacks in terms of a ranking and the exact rank that you have them. I go Mike White, then Brock Purdy, then Watson, then Sam Darnold. Wendy Cush, happy holidays to you, man. And I clinched my bye week 13. I got Folk as my kicker. They play Cincinnati at home week 16. Should I pick up Decker? He plays versus the Colts. Asking now because two players need kickers, so have to put in a waiver. I'm assuming that's Dicker, the kicker. Both are, I mean, like, I feel like Nick Folk just brings such high upside that, you know, when we look at a lot of the kickers in this tier, like the floors aren't that different for like Nick Folk versus Cameron Dicker, but the upside is really high for Nick Folk. So I probably just roll with Nick Folk. But really what's going to be most important for you guys evaluating kickers as we finish out the fantasy season is looking at weather and looking at if these kickers are playing indoors or not. If they are, you want to go out and grab those kickers. So if I'm not mistaken, the Colts game would be an indoor game. You might want to go out and pick up Cameron Dicker there. So, of course, on a weekly basis, Steven does our must-start kickers, our must-start defenses. Go check out, those videos. Going to give you guys some good options at defense to potentially stream as well. Some good options at kickers that are very low rostered and have good opportunities as well. And he loves to hear from you guys in the comments section. So, if you guys have questions on kickers, on defenses, go check out the must-start kickers and must-start defenses for the week. And go drop Steven a comment as well. Elliot, we got you, of course. The questions are appreciated. No worries, man. Niner, Gabe Davis, Jamal Williams, Donta Foreman, pick 2.5 PPR. I'm going to gravitate towards the running back position, half PPR. I'm going to go Jamal Williams and Foreman. Gabe Davis might be playing in the snow. It's not really a great play in half PPR. He hasn't seen that ceiling as of late. I go Jamal and Foreman. Bob, really struggling with Olave versus Dobbins. I don't want to have Olave on the bench when he's going against Atlanta. Listen, man, I really like Olave this week. Overall, Atlanta has played very poorly against the wide receiver position. But A.J. Terrell, was out for a little bit. He's back and healthy. The secondary is not great. The cornerback one for the Falcons is literally like one of the only good things on this Atlanta Falcons team. A.J. Terrell is a really good player. So I still like Olave, especially due to overall volume this week. And if you go Olave, I think it's okay. But personally, I mean, like you look at it in the other sense, Dobbins gets the Browns, the team that's allowed the third most points to the running back position on the season. I just really like Dobbins coming off of last week. A really good matchup here against the Browns. But there's definitely an argument for either player. I'll definitely think on it throughout the week. Both are really solid starts. Che, start 2, full PPR. Najee, Kamara, Jamal Williams, Rashad White. Thanks as always. Shout out from Wyoming. Of course, bro. We got you. I go Kamara. I think Kamara is going to bounce back this week, guys. I think Kamara is actually a really solid play. We talked about this leading up to this week. Like, week 12, not a player we were in love with against the Niners. Week 13, not a player we were in love with against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had a really tough stretch, you guys. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, the Rams, the Niners, the Bucs, all teams that have played well against the running back position or have good front sevens. Pittsburgh, not exactly great against the running back position. The Rams have kind of, they were a little bit more elite earlier in the season. They've kind of softened a little bit, but still good against the run. You know, the Baltimore, the Rams, even though Aaron Donald's out now, I mean, still has been good on the season, like I said, against running back position. The Niners and the Bucs, really tough matchups. The Atlanta Falcons are not those teams. Kamara's going to have, I mean, he gets the Falcons this week and the Cleveland Browns in week 16. Kamara is going to really help you guys in the playoffs if you own him. He's a player that I really like right now. But outside of that, we got to start 2. So it's kind of interesting here because, you know, you got Najee against the Panthers. You got Jamal Williams against the Jets. And you got Rashad White against the Bengals. So those are tough calls, you know. Like, Jamal Williams has been so incredibly consistent that he's just like a player that I start almost on a weekly basis. But he's been pretty quiet the last 2 weeks. 3.7 points in week 14. 9.5 in week 13. Gets the Jets in week 15. So I just don't know how to feel about Jamal Williams because, you know, this Lions team has kind of gravitated towards throwing the football a ton. So I probably go Kamara and Rashad White because the advantage that Rashad White has in full PPR is Brady's going to dump that football off like 20 times a game between Fournette and Rashad White. So I probably go Kamara and Rashad White. Thomas, need running back help. Start 2. Zeke, Barkley, K9, Dobbins. Worried about injuries. Hate Thursday night football games. Also have Metcalf going. Also in Njoku or Goddard. Njoku has been playing nice. I go Zeke. Ooh. I go Barkley. You just can't bench Barkley, man. And Zeke's playing way too good right now. But it's so close with Dobbins in there. Kenneth Walker coming off the injury on a short week and everything. I think it's actually okay to bench. I mean, he also gets the Niners, so like I think Kenneth Walker is okay to bench. The more I think about it, I don't really like Kenneth Walker this week. Due to the matchup, injury, short week, Thursday night football. I go Zeke and Barkley, but if you can flex Dobbins, I definitely consider it. Metcalf keep in your lineup. I like Metcalf and Lockett this week. Njoku versus Goddard. I go Njoku. Let's give Goddard a week to kind of see what happens. The Bears have actually played pretty well against opposing tight ends, believe it or not. But I think Goddard could still have a really nice game. But since he's returning from injury, I go Njoku here. As Rex Burkhead or a good pickup for the Texans. They're okay, yeah. Like if I had to go one, I guess it's Rex Burkhead. They get Kansas City, Tennessee, Jacksonville. I probably wouldn't do it, man. The Texans are just going to consistently be in these game scripts where they need to throw the football where they're throwing from behind. I wouldn't go for it, not personally. And my running backs are JT, Mixon, Sanders, Rashad White. Would you stay put or drop White for Chuba Hubbard, Knight, or McKinnon? I would stay put. It's close with McKinnon and Knight, actually. I might go get Knight. Guys, if Knight is available in your league, like Zonovan Knight looks like the clear-cut guy for the Jets. I was a little bit worried going into last week. Like, do we get more of a committee? Like, how involved is Michael Carter? Ty Johnson, what is he going to do? He had, production in weeks 12 and week 13. He didn't log a single snap. Where is James Robinson? Does anyone know? Please let me know if you guys have seen James Robinson. But Michael Carter struggled. Just 5 touches on the ground, 5 rushing yards, 1 yard per carry, 6 targets, pretty good, but 3 receptions for 15 receiving yards is not that good. He lost a fumble, Guys, The Jets will face the Lions, who have improved against the run, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Seattle Seahawks. It's a really good strength of schedule. Even if the Lions have improved against the run, at the end of the day, they are allowing for good offensive game scripts, and Zonovan Knight brings some nice PPR upside. Not a ton, but some nice upside. So it's tough. Would I drop JT Mixon, Sanders, or Rachaad White for Knight or McKinnon, though? It's tough. Really tough. Because I still like Rachaad White. I've really argued for Rachaad White a lot recently. Like, he's just going to get like 5+ targets a game with the way that the Buccaneers play football. He holds nice PPR upside. Especially if he scores a touchdown or if he has a nice day on the ground. So, it's just so tough, man. If I was going to drop him, I'd drop him for Knight. McKinnon's going to have a nice week against Texans this week, though. It's so close. So close, Ed. How do you feel about it, man? Michael, first seed in my league. Thanks. Let's go. Love to hear it, man. Start 1, wide receiver 2. Godwin, Kirk, Olave. Not liking Godwin and Kirk's matchup and don't like Dalton as quarterback. I'd probably still go Godwin here. I mean, I agree. I'm not in love with the matchup either. But the volume for Godwin has just been so good. You know? Like, last week was, like, his worst week since he got hurt in week 1 in terms of volume. But, or excuse me, I'm looking at receptions. I was about to say, am I missing something here? So in terms of his targets, yeah, he's had 8 or more targets in every game since week 6. He's had 8 or more targets in every game on the year he's played in, except for weeks 1 and week 5. Like, the Bucs are going to throw the football. They're going to be in positions where they need to throw the football. I stick with Godwin, man. If I didn't go Godwin, I go Olave. Thomas, Seattle announced today that Kenneth Walker is full participant in practice, though I don't know about the Niners defense. Yeah, it's like a short week. Niners defense very good against the run. It's tough. It's tough. I don't know if I'm in love with Walker this week. Adam, Geno or Watson? I'll stick with Geno. Give me Geno. Shay, the Jeff Driscoll tight end talk was real. He is a tight end / quarterback in Yahoo like Taysom Hill. If he plays 30% of the quarterback snaps in Houston, what do you think? Wow, I didn't actually... Like, I assumed that's what was happening when you said Jeff Driscoll. That's quite interesting. They played Kansas City. It's definitely interesting. I don't know, though. I don't know if I'd risk it. We're going to have to... I think we're going to have to get a more clear picture on that as the week goes on. But your other option was Kittle, right? Wait. Let me try and scroll up without losing my place. Yeah, I go Kittle. I still go Kittle. Yeah. Let's not get smart. I go Kittle. Really interesting, though. But I got to go Kittle. I love Kittle this week. Great matchup for George Kittle. Paul, Cowboys defense with Diggs out. Oh, that's right. I forgot Diggs might miss a little bit of time. And Anthony Brown out. I still consider the Cowboys defense. Yeah. Depends on who else you have. Jacob, Chiefs defense or Eagles? I'll go the Chiefs. Go the Chiefs. But I do like the Eagles this week still. Rayner, at all interested in Tyler Algier? Falcons starting Desmond Ridder makes me think they're not necessarily throwing away their season, but looking more towards younger players for next year. Hey, I've always had faith in Tyler Algier. He's one of my favorite running backs to talk about in the offseason after he got drafted to the Falcons. I thought he would have a rookie season more like Dameon Pierce's. You know, we saw some good opportunities. We saw a good stretch between weeks 7 and 9, the 11 or more fantasy points in those 3 games. But listen, He gets the Saints, he gets the Ravens, he gets the Cardinals. Not the best strength of schedule overall. And at the end of the day, like I don't trust. I do not trust the Falcons' backfield. You know, they're going to utilize 2 to 3 running backs a week. I like what you're saying, but I'd have to see it kind of happen before we jump the gun there. Is the Bucs defense worth holding for a championship versus Carolina? It's really tough to get a read on Carolina from a fantasy perspective. Like when we look at, for example, like Carolina's like the 6th best team, if I'm not mistaken. They've given up this. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. They're 6th best team to stream against defensively from a fantasy perspective. But that's really tough, right? Because we had Baker at quarterback, and he really struggled. We had P.J. Walker, who has some really highs and has some lows. And we've had Sam Darnold in there, right? I mean, it's like the quarterback position for the Panthers has just been all over the freaking place. And so it's really hard to look at their season as a whole and, like, not taking into account everything that's happened. Like, I feel like their offenses look better with Sam Darnold than it has with, well, I don't know. Walker had some really good games. It's just tough. I would kind of just pay attention to what the Panthers look like. But in terms of having to hold on to them, depends on who else you have. So, you know. I'd also keep an eye on DJ Moore. How much time is he going to miss, you know? Nick, what defense for weeks 15, 16, 17? Chargers, Miami, Pittsburgh. Tough calls. Tough calls. So let's take a look here. So the Steelers will face Carolina, Las Vegas, and Baltimore. Don't know who's going to be a quarterback for the Ravens at that point. The Chargers will face Tennessee, the Colts, and the Rams. The Dolphins face Buffalo, Green Bay, New England. I mean, I'd probably go with the Chargers if I have to pick one. Probably go with the Chargers. They look better as of late, too. But all these defenses still have problems. Elliot, I'm 100% exposed to Waddle. It's been so tough lately. It's hard to trust. Just got to remember him and Tua have that phenomenal chemistry, you know. But Andrea coming in saying it's maybe 7 inches of snow. And Andrea lives in that area, so she's a great reference for us. But that's what I'm more concerned about. But I get it. Being a Waddle owner has probably been hard as of late. I am a Waddle owner in one league. Rayner, Rashad White or Kenneth Walker, Hawks fan here. And after that stupid loss, a not fully healthy Walker faces the best defense in the league on a Thursday. Yeah, I go Rashad White. Plain and simple. Gob, I'm torn. Another Cooper question for me. Would you start DPJ over Cooper or just ride with Cooper since he got me into the playoffs? Right now, I'll trust that chemistry that Watson has with DPJ over Cooper, and Cooper being a little bit banged up. I'll go DPJ. McClan, Knight, Burkhead, Etienne, Evans, Judy, Seymour, full PPR, pick one. It's close between Knight and Judy. Don't bench Christian Watson. I don't want to read that whole sentence. Do not bench Christian Watson this week. Out. Seriously though, keep Watson in your lineup. Knight versus Judy is really interesting because I do think Judy's gonna have another good week, especially if Sutton misses time. But the bigger question is who's gonna be throwing Judy the football. I probably have Knight in right now. But it's another good matchup for Judy against the Cardinals. So, coming off a huge game. That's a close one. Knight, I think, brings a safer floor. Judy might bring a little bit more upside, though. Eddie, Fields, Brady, or Cousins this week? Fields. We're rolling with Justin Fields. No fear here. You're welcome, Eddie. Is Chuba a solid RB2 this week? Yeah. I don't know. If you're desperate enough. I like Chuba this week. You know, 18.9 points last week. He had 65 yards on the ground in week 12. He's okay. I just worry, like, you know, because at the end of the day, not only is Foreman involved, you know, Foreman still had 21 touches last week, 24 touches in week 12. But Raheem Blackshear stole a touchdown last week from Chuba or Foreman, you know. 4 touches last week for Blackshear, and one of them was a touchdown, 11.9 points. So I just worry about Chuba. I like Chuba. I think he's worth picking up. But it just depends on who else you can start. How do you feel about Mike Williams and Tua this week? Purple Cat, you got to start Mike Williams. He's going to have a monster week against Tennessee Titans secondary. He's going to ball out. Tua is fine. I expected a better performance out of Tua last week. But I still like Tua this week. It's the Bills. But once again, we got to pay attention to the snow there. Drew, what's good, bro? Kenneth Walker or Hollywood both really have tough matchups. I'll go Walker, but it's close. Hollywood's got a tough matchup against Denver. And Walker on a short week. He's been banged up. It's the Niners defense. I don't like him very much this week. It's tough. Fancy Dog, what's up, man? Good to see you in the chat. Elliot, would Zerline be above the top guys in kicker video? They were Bucker, Lutz, McCaughlin. I personally still like Zerline. You can always drop Steven a comment as well and get his thoughts. Zerline just brings a lot of upside. It's a good matchup for Greg Zerline, though. Your kicker number 7 on the year against the Detroit Lions. I definitely consider him, but like I said, drop Steven a comment and get his thoughts as well. Mel, what's up, bro? 13 leagues, made the playoffs in 12. Let's go. You're welcome. Same issue. Sit one. Amon-Ra, Chase Godwin, AJ Brown. Whew. It's a tough matchup for Amon-Ra, so like naturally I kind of consider sitting him here. It's a tough matchup for him. He's just been so good as of late. Tough matchup. Sauce Gardner's just been phenomenal this year. I'll sit Amon-Ra, but it's between Amon-Ra and Godwin. You can't sit AJ Brown or Jamar Chase, you know. I'll go AJ Brown, Godwin, Chase. So close. Suave, rank these players. McKinnon, Strong, Chuba, Marlon Mack. I don't want to trust Marlon Mack just yet. I go McKinnon, Pierre Strong, and Chuba. Then literally the exact order you have them typed out is the order I would put your waivers in. Drew, Rashad White or McKinnon? Jerick McKinnon. Rashad White brings probably a better floor. Jerick McKinnon brings far more upside. I really like McKinnon this week. It's a really good matchup against the Houston Texans, but I also slightly worry that this is going to be a game script where Isaiah Pacheco gets a ton of work, and McKinnon isn't necessarily as needed in this game, because you look at the last 2 game scripts where McKinnon has really gotten that involvement. They've been competitive game scripts, you know, against the Bengals, and then last week against the Broncos, right, where the Chiefs had to throw the football. I don't quite know if that's going to happen against the Texans, but I also said that last week between the Cowboys. Excuse me, I just punched my mic. Between the Cowboys and the Texans kept it competitive, you know. So you never know, right? But White brings the floor and McKinnon brings the upside for sure. Henry, what's going on, man? Which of the 2 running backs would you start this week? Bam Knight, Etienne, and Jamal Williams. I go Bam Knight for sure. For sure. I kind of worry about Jamal Williams right now. You know, for a while he was just like a easy plug-in. Start Jamal Williams every week. Struggled the last 2 weeks. Game scripts have been like the Lions just want to sling that football around, you know. But ETN's got a tough matchup, so I'd probably still go Knight and ETN, but you could go Knight and Jamal Williams. Very close. Very close. Etienne and Jamal Williams just been in bad game scripts lately. So I think I'll take the more, I don't know, both those game scripts this week, you know, Cowboys, Jags, Lions, Jets are competitive game scripts. So I could see either of those guys scoring. What do you think, Henry? Mel, at this time of the season, have you considered adding a mini show solely on weather activity or have a good site to get updated info? I usually, on Sunday mornings, like that's on the Sunday morning stream, that's one of the first things we do is go over weather. So I've always kind of done it that way, but it's always something we could maybe keep up with on Discord. So something I'll definitely try to take into consideration for you, Mel. Andrew, I know you're long gone, but have a good night. Omar, is James Cook droppable? Would you pick up Chuba, Marlon Mack, Madison, and Jordan Mason? I do think that James Cook is a player you can consider moving on from. If I was going to do so, I would move on to Chuba Hubbard or Alexander Madison as a pure handcuff, or Jordan Mason even as a handcuff. But I'm not necessarily personally ready to pull the trigger on Marlon Mack. Listen, I'm a fan of Marlon Mack, but like, we're going off of one game where, you know, he had 3 touches on the ground for 15 rushing yards, and he had 3 targets, 2 receptions, and one of them went for a long touchdown, you know, 66-yard touchdown. But Latavius Murray is still the lead back, 8 touches and 5 targets for Murray last week. And I think Mike Boone exists somewhere in this universe too, but I just don't want to trust a Broncos running back. I'm just not quite there. It's a big play for him. We take away that big play, we would not be talking about Marlon Mack in Week 15 of this season. So it's tough. If I was going to drop Cook, it'd be for Chuba, or I go for one of the handcuffs. I just don't know that we're going to be able to trust James Cook, you know? And I had that feeling going into last week. Like, I like picking him up off the waiver wire just for the opportunity and the performance he gave us in Week 13. But there's a point last week where I was like, you know what? I'm a little bit worried about James Cook. You know, this when we look at this game, like, he played very well in this game, and they just kind of like, they rode the hot hand with James Cook. I mean, Devin Singletary still had a good amount of touches in that game against the Patriots with 13 on the ground. But also, like, the Bills were ahead in that game. They just stuck with the run game to try and get out of there and keep that lead and get time off the clock. And I mentioned that last week, and I never really came back to it. And we had already considered Cook in a lot of lineups going into a competitive matchup against the Jets, and I wish I had kind of emphasized that a little bit more, that maybe Cook isn't someone we can really trust. Maybe that Week 13 was more due to game script. So I just don't know, like, even if Cook has a good week this week, are we really going to be confident in him in Week 16, I guess is what I'm saying. So I would say James Cook is droppable. I dropped him in a league, so if that makes you feel better. J-Dub's in the house. What's good, bro? E.T. and Juju, Gabe Davis. Probably Juju. I just don't know how much the Chiefs are going to throw the football against the Texans. I don't know. I said the same thing about the Cowboys last week. Juju scored last week. Had a little bit of a drought there between Weeks 10 and Week 13 with 6.8 or less fantasy points in a missed game. But Juju was on a good roll there for a couple weeks. I mean, it probably boils down to Juju or ETN, whoever you feel better about. Unless that's the matchup against me, J-Dubs, then I would start, like, I'd probably just go out and start, like, I'm trying to, I don't know. That's not our matchup, right, J-Dubs? Regardless, I don't care. I'll still give you the best possible answer. I really probably would start Juju. But ETN, like, even though I don't like the matchup, you can consider him here. I wouldn't go Gabe Davis. Suave, Jacksonville defense versus Houston or Bucks versus Carolina in the championship. I guess Jacksonville. But I feel like, you know, Week 17 of the regular season and Jacksonville maybe not in a position where they are going to be able to have a winning season. You can look at this game two ways. Like, either they're going to play their best ball because it's a division rival, they have nothing to play for, or they just have nothing to play for and this game has no defense. So I worry about that game script. The Buccaneers-Panthers game should be a lot more competitive. The Panthers can still technically make the playoffs. I mean, we'll see in Week 17 what that looks like. But I might go with the Bucs. Close. J-Dubs, what's up, man? Kelly, is it better to flex a running back over a wide receiver in a standard league, Knight, Lockett, or DPJ? Generally speaking, I would say yes. But when you got a guy like Tyler Lockett, no. You start Lockett for sure. Pop, lock, and drop it needs to be in your lineup. He's your wide receiver 9 in standard. He has a touchdown in 6 straight games. Usually yes, but not with a guy like that. Trey, Danny Dimes, Mike White, or Watson. If Mike White is healthy, start Mike White. If not, go Danny Dimes. You can still consider Watson here, though. I think Watson will improve week after week. He gets the Ravens this week. We'll see what happens. But I think Danny Dimes is worth starting this week. But Mike White, if he's healthy, for sure. Lions have given up the most points to the quarterback position on the season from a fantasy perspective. J-Dubs, I'm looking forward to the matchup as well. Brandon, start 3. Walker, Pacheco, White, Monty, Carter, Pierce. I go Pacheco for sure. I go Rashad White. And I go Monty. Carter struggled last week coming off injury. Pierce is banged up. Walker's returning from injury more than likely. We don't know for sure. And he gets a Niner. So I go Pacheco, Rashad White, and Monty. Drew, Darren Waller if he plays, Henry, Cade Otton, or Taysom Hill. Hunter Henry for me is the safest option. I want to trust Waller right out the gate. Taysom Hill, a guy worth considering against the Falcons as well. J-Dubs, DPJ or Ayuk? Ayuk for a floor, DPJ for upside. I might go DPJ though. Fancy Dog, I'm starting Ingram at tight end and Kelsey in the flex, full PPR 12-teamer. Thoughts? That's completely fine. I mean, Kelsey is in your lineup no matter what. Okay, I mean, whether you have Kelsey in the flex or the tight end spot, I don't care. But Kelsey's got to be in your lineup. Ingram's fine, though. I like Ingram this week. I mean, he's going to regress probably pretty drastically from last week. But he's fine to start against the Cowboys. But he's not going to do what he did last week. Adam, appreciate your opinion. Have a great night, brother. 100%, man. Appreciate you coming out to the stream. Richard Glass in the house. What's up, bro? How are you doing, man? I just pinned your message. Okay, I'm going to undo that. I thought maybe that, I don't know what I thought that would do. But Richard, I appreciate you, man. I'm glad you're here in the house tonight. Our OG subscriber, like literally like our 5th subscriber to the channel. So, love you, man. Hope you're doing well. And great to have you in the house, my guy. What's up? Suave, McKinnon and Rashad White. Rashad White for the 4, McKinnon for upside. I think McKinnon holds a little bit of risk because I just don't know if this is going to be a very competitive game where the Chiefs need to throw the football. But I do like him this week just due to the nature of the matchup. Are we still starting Andrews? My next option would be Hunter Henry. Yeah, Andrews is a tough read right now because we don't really know who's starting at quarterback. Like, I'm not necessarily worried about Mark Andrews, who's still your tight end 2 on the season, believe it or not. I'm far more worried about, like, I don't necessarily care if Lamar Jackson is out there, but I want Tyler Huntley out there at least because Huntley and Andrews had really good chemistry last year when Huntley filled in for Lamar Jackson. Some of Mark Andrews' best performances last year were actually when Huntley was quarterback, but I just worry, like, if it's not Huntley or Jackson, then I do think you can actually consider Henry over Mark Andrews. Call me crazy. But we just need to kind of wait and see how the week goes and who's healthy at quarterback. Brett, Gallup or DJ Chark or Pickens? I'll go Gallup. But it's very close. Any of those guys can outscore each other. I worry a little bit about Pickens because The chemistry between him and Kenny Pickett was a lot better than him and Mitch Trubisky, and it looks like Pickett might miss this week. And I worry about Chark. I don't worry about Chark as much because like Sauce Gardner is going to be on Amon-Ra for this game would be my assumption, but I like Gallup. I feel the best about that game script. Thomas, he said Zeke and Barkley, but Dobbins is close. Here's my lineup. Fields, Zeke, Barkley, A.J. Brown, Lamb, and Njoku. Goddard. Njoku or Goddard. Flexes Metcalf, K9. Dobbins, DPJ. Defense, Kansas City. Baltimore, I can't flex Metcalf. Ooh. You can flex 2 running backs? Wait, I'm confused. How many flex options do you have? I'm confused about your lineup. Fields, Zeke, Barkley, A.J. Brown, Lamb, tight end, Njoku or Goddard, flex, Metcalf, K9, Dobbins, DPJ. How many flex options do you have? Why can't you flex Metcalf? We'll get back to that one, Thomas. I mean, lineup looks good, but you got some good options on the bench too. Tony, what's up, man? Would you target Jameson Williams or Chark off waivers? You can drop Pickens if you need to, but I would just say Chark is going to be that player who's going to bring kind of a floor, not as much upside. Jameson Williams will probably bring more upside, but a little bit more risk as well. If you get what I'm saying, so it kind of just depends. Do you want to play for that risk and that upside, or do you want to play for a floor? Cameron, what's up, man? Pick 2 to start. Watson, Ayuk, Swift, Rashad White, ETN. Christian Watson for sure. Not even close. Watson's going to have a great week. I go Watson and I go Ayuk. If you don't want to go Ayuk on the short week with Purdy at quarterback, not that he's played poorly, but short week, Thursday Night Football. Quarterbacks can always play the best on Thursday Night Football from a fantasy perspective. Seahawks have still played well against opposing receivers. You can go Rashad White. Start Rex Burkhead over Foreman. I will go Foreman. Jimbo, what's up, man? Today I have no questions. Let's go. Just want to distribute a little love and say that you do a very good job. I'm always looking forward to your streams. Underrated channel. Thank you so much, man. It really means a lot when I hear that stuff from you guys because I put in a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of time into this. So I really, really do appreciate that, man. And I appreciate you guys coming out, hanging out in the stream. Even if you don't have questions, you just want to listen in and hear some fantasy conversation. So I really appreciate that, Jimbo. Tony, Watson or Olave? I go Watson. I like Olave this week, but I go Watson. J-Dub, some of my quarterfinal brackets Underdog best ball are ridiculous. I might be crying my beer by Monday night. You never know. You never know. I would be like really surprised if I advanced past this week. But I have a shot. You never know. Cameron, do I start Rodgers, Huntley, or Watson? I go Rodgers. Rodgers is a sneaky play this week. Rodgers got dropped in a lot of leagues, but I like Rodgers against the Rams. They've given up a lot of points to opposing quarterbacks. Rodgers has a really good playoff schedule. Rodgers is like floating out there. He wants someone to stream. I mean, he gets the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. Really good strength of schedule for the playoffs. And then if you play through Week 18, he gets the Lions. Really, really good strength of schedule. I found out in my double quarterback league we're playing through Week 18. Rodgers is available. I have Hurts and Herbert. I'm going for Rodgers on the waiver right now because I don't know if Hurts is going to play like the last 2 weeks of the season. I might really, really, really need Rodgers. So I go Rodgers. Rodgers, Watson, Huntley. Rodgers, Watson, Dimes, kind of in the same tier than Huntley. Buddy Hop, I know you already went over my team, and thanks, brother. Of course. Should I chalk up both Jay Willie and Swift and throw in playoff Lenny? If not, who are you more confident in? It's really a toss-up. For some reason, when he said Jay Willie, I was thinking Jeff Wilson. Is it Jamal Williams? Because now I remember you had Jamal Williams. So it's Jamal Williams and Swift. Crap. I can't scroll up that far. And I already forgot your team. So much that goes through my head during the stream. Shoot. Can you send me your team again? I'm so sorry, bro. Sorry. I know it's a pain to type it out, and now you're going to have to wait, like, I don't know how far behind I am in the chat. I'm a little worried about the Lions running backs this week. We'll see what happens. Is Jared Goff a solid start this week? Yes. Yes. But I don't think the Lions have a tougher matchup than they've had in the last 2 weeks or so against the Jets. But I still think you can still consider all the Lions players. I think it's still going to be a competitive game script. Paul, told you J-Mo will get a touchdown. He sure as hell did, bro. I was really worried about like going out and starting Jameson until we saw something happen. And if you started Jameson last week, I mean, he only had like 11 fantasy points in full PPR. But hey, you did tell me. George, I absolutely hate the matchup, but does Kenneth Walker's full practice today make him an auto start? No. Also, Yahoo refuses to put David Pierce as out, so can't move him to IR. Is he droppable now? I wouldn't say Kenneth Walker is an auto start coming off the injury, Thursday Night Football, and then San Francisco 49ers are involved, right? So I want to say an auto start. Pierce, we just don't know how much time he's going to miss. Depends on who you drop him for. It depends on your running back depth. It depends on a couple of things. So he's not going to play this week. Then he gets the Titans, a tough matchup in Week 16. Like, I wouldn't start him in Week 16, you know? I think it's Jacksonville, pretty good matchup in Week 17. So tough calls. Depends on your running back depth. Ty, DJ Chark or Zay Jones. That's tough. Chark for a floor, Zay Jones for a little bit more upside. We liked Jones going into last week and it paid off. We also liked him in Week 13 and did not pay off. I'll go Zay Jones for upside. Chark is still a good play, though. I feel like I need to blow my nose, and like I can't. Jazz Sarbra, what's up? Pick one, Kittle or Everett. I like both a lot this week. I think Everett's more of a floor play. Kittle brings more upside, but more risk. So play it accordingly. If you need to go a little bit more risky for more points, depending on your roster and your matchup, maybe go Kittle. I think Everett's going to have a good week, and the Titans just gave up like 40 points to Evan Ingram. So, pick three, Mike Williams, Evans, Lockett, Ayuk. I go Mike Williams, Lockett, and Ayuk. Or, no, so, yeah, Mike Williams, Lockett, and Ayuk. I bench Evans. Bench Evans. Whatever you do, start Mike Williams. I think Lockett's going to have a really good week, too. I go Ayuk over Evans right now. Who would you start this week? Amari Cooper or DK? I go DK for sure. I love DK Metcalf this week. The Niners defense is good. They give up the 10th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position, though. I go Metcalf. Jacob, half PPR. Who should I start at wide receiver 3? Kirk, Elijah Moore, or Chris Moore? I go Christian Kirk. He's played the best on the season. Rich, lost 14, no buy. Waddle, Kittle, and Chubb didn't show up for me this week. Have to pick 3. Wilson, Lockett, Watson, Waddle, Thielen leading on the first 3. I go with the first 3 as well. All 3 of those guys are in my must-start wide receiver video. I go with those 3 for sure. I'm trying to like blow my nose, and I can't. Eric, thoughts on Kenny Walker? I don't love him this week. Depends on who else you have. Elliot, sounds like a lot of people are stuck on Kenneth Walker. Yeah, I'm really worried about the injury. I'm worried about the matchup. I'm not worried about the injury. Like, he might not play, first of all. That's going to solve a lot of people's problems. But I just don't love him this week. Jacob, who do you like better tight end this week? Freiermuth, Kmet, or Henry? I'm sticking by my boy, Pat Freiermuth. I like Pat Freiermuth. Richard, he can pin me anytime. Let's go. Yeah, I've never pinned a comment before. I don't think it does anything for you guys. Can you guys see the pinned comment? I'm just going to leave it there. It was kind of in my way, but I'm just going to deal with it. Rich was thinking about picking up Chuba and Chig for my bench. Both are good options. Have Kittle. I like Kittle this week still. Murray and Mo start my bench with Eckler and Chubb. Yeah, I think they're both good waiver pickups for you, Rich. Everett or Taysom this week? Brent, I'll go Everett. I really like him this week, but Taysom's a good play too. Just never know what you're going to get with Taysom, but he's got a good matchup. J-Dubs, Watson, Goff, or Mike White. I go Mike White if he's healthy for sure. But then Goff, then Watson. Raiders defense or Commanders? I personally go with the Commanders, J-Dubs. I don't like the Raiders defense. I just don't. Like, I get that they were a stream last week and they had a good stat line at a point in that game, but I just don't like them. You know, because look what happened last week. I don't trust this Las Vegas Raiders team. They're 31st in terms of fantasy scoring this week. Or this year, excuse me. 8 points last week. They should have finished with a better stat line. They gave up 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes and 31 seconds, right? They should have had a lot more points last week. They get the Patriots. Like, I have a lot of faith in the Patriots, but I just don't like the Raiders. I don't know why we would have faith in them after last week. You know what I'm saying? Because I've heard a lot of buzz about the Raiders. You know, I go with the Commanders, man. The Giants struggled last week. The Commanders have been the better team on the season in terms of fantasy scoring for sure. They're ninth overall. I go with the Commanders. I'm trying to like nonchalantly blow my nose. I know I'm not like blowing my nose into like a tissue, but like I'm trying to clear it. How bad has it been on stream for you guys? Watson or Mike White? What's up, Big Trev? I go Mike White if he's healthy. If not, Watson's okay. J-Dubs, London or Woods? I go London. Cousins or Watson? I go Cousins. I guess. But I still think we could consider Watson. Thomas, I bet I can't possibly flex Dobbins over Metcalf. Sorry, my question was confusing. Only one flex. I like both a lot this week. I think both are really good starts, man. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, your lineup looks really good. Your flex is really tough because you have a lot of really good options. I'd probably stick with Metcalf. He's been way too good. Sorry, I keep taking myself out of the frame. You guys probably don't care. We got you, Cameron, of course, bro. J-Dubs, Green Bay, Cleveland, or Bengals? Green Bay, I guess. But I got a weird feeling about the Rams. All right, Bunny Hop, Fields, Swift, Jones, Diggs, Mike, Hawk, Watson. Either Liddy, Jamal Williams, or Swift. Okay. Yeah, I go Liddy. Jamal Williams has been struggling. I don't know if he's been struggling, but the Lions' game script has turned to throwing the football. I go Liddy. Diversify a little bit. Get Swift for the PPR upside. I go Liddy. Made a bunch of buy low trades and I paid off, so pick 3 to start. CMC, ETN, Elliott, Taylor. I'll bench ETN against the Cowboys. It's been struggling in these poor matchups, poor game scripts. I think that continues this week against Dallas, so I'll go CMC, Zeke, and Taylor personally. Anthony, Goff or Tua? I'll go Tua. It's very close. Very close. Daniel, I picked up Harris, McKinnon, Akers since Stevenson's hurt. Or should I pick up? I pick up McKinnon. I go McKinnon, Akers, then Harris. 'Cause I don't know if Harris is going to play. Consider Pierre Strong as well. Elliot, blow your nose. We get it. Yeah, I usually have freaking like tissues up here for this circumstance. It'll be fine. I'll get through it. Anthony, full PPR, Pickens or Davis? The safer play is Pickens. But I'm a little bit worried because I don't like the chemistry between him and Trubisky. But Davis, like, can we trust Davis? He's going to be in the snow. I'd probably go Pickens. Joshua, what's up, bro? Pick 2, Olave, Mike Williams, Fournette, Dobbins. I go Mike Williams and Dobbins, but I do like Olave this week. But Mike Williams must start, in my opinion, against the Titans secondary. And Dobbins against the Browns is too good. Go Mike Williams and Dobbins. I like Olave a lot, though. But I still, ultimately, if it's my roster, I got Mike Williams and Dobbins in there. AJ Terrell's back for the Falcons, so keep that in mind. Bunny Hop, so it was Swift, Liddy, or Jamal Williams. My bad. Because you're flexing Mike Williams and Watson. Jesus Christ, dude. Swift. Very close. Very tough call. I'll go Swift. And honestly, dude, I think Swift gives you the most upside. And, like, honestly, the rest of your lineup is really good. So I'll go Swift. I don't think you need to worry too much. It is a tough call, though. Daniel, should I drop Dolchich or Johnson, pick up Waller or Okonkwo? You can drop Johnson. Greg Dolchich has a really good matchup this week. I put in a waiver for both. Whoever you feel better about, put as a higher waiver priority. But both are worth grabbing there. Nice. We got a pinned comment by Richard Glass. Let's go. I didn't know I could pin a comment. You guys could see it. I learned something new tonight. Big Trev, Thielen, DPJ, Rashad White, Ramondre need 2 full PPR, 1 wide receiver. I guess we have to keep an eye on Ramondre, of course, but I go DPJ and I go Rashad White. Danny Dimes or Mike White. I go Mike White. I love Mike White this week. I can't say it enough. The Lions have given up the most points to the position. If Mike White's healthy, go Mike White. Miringer TV, last one in Njoku. Is he a good start this week? Yeah, for sure. For sure. Zakira, Deshaun Watson or Fields? I go Justin Fields for sure. Thoughts on Josh Allen versus Miami? Rich, I'm not worried about Josh Allen at all. Miami's given up the 5th most points to the quarterback position on the season. I'm worried about the weather, if anything. Does Dallas defense bounce back? Some of their secondaries bounce back. Or is banged up. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't feel sick at all. I don't think I'm sick. I do get kind of sinusy this time of year. But thank you, man. It's tough. I think Dallas is okay. I think you still got to start him. It depends on who you can potentially stream as well. You got your Bunny Hop. J-Dubs, Chupa's worth picking up, especially as a handcuff if anything happens to Foreman, but it's still a committee there. And you got Blackshear involved too. Is that his name? The rookie running back. Big Trev or Elijah Moore. I still go DPJ, but Elijah Moore's decent play too. You could consider Elijah Moore there. I like Rashad White though. I don't know why. I just want to start him. Bunny Hop, love you, bro. Have a good night, Don. Smokey, what's up, fam? What's good, bro? Need 2. White, Najee, Pacheco, Foreman, and Dobbins. Easy for me. Pacheco against the Texans. Dobbins against the Browns. You've got other good options. I go with those 2. Rich, what do you think of Ritter? Say he's just as fast as Fields. Don't know if that's true. Let's see what happens. I mean, even you think about Justin Fields. Took a lot of time to get to where we're at with Justin Fields. I want to start Ritter right away. If you have a player you really don't need, you have a really good roster, you really want to pick him up, see what happens, that's okay. Got a pretty favorable strength of schedule, but like I wouldn't go dropping players who've been productive on the season for him. You know what I'm saying? I think we kind of wait and see what happens. Anthony Cooks picking Sutton. If Sutton's healthy, Sutton. Go Sutton. If healthy, then Pickens and Cooks. J-Dubs, need another 2 touchdown performance from Judy. I'm crossing my fingers for you, bro. Alex, can you rate my team? I have a bye week, so it helps with my injuries. Full PPR, 3 wide receiver. Hurts, Ramondre, Knight, Ayuk, Keenan, Amon-Ra, Goddard, Kirk, Jeff Wilson, Olave, Pierce, Dylan, Dobbins. Pretty good squad overall, Alex. So you're starting 3 receivers. You got Hurts. You need Ramondre healthy. As long as he's healthy, you're good with him and Knight. So you got Ayuk and Keenan. and Amon-Ra, which is good. Goddard's coming back. Then is the rest just your bench, or do you have one flex as well? I mean, either way, you're in a really good position because you're able to flex Kirk, Olave, or Dobbins. You know? And then Dylan's playing really well, too. I mean, you got a lot of flex options, a lot of good bench options. Even if Ramondre's banged up. It's a really good team, man. Yeah, I mean, for a full PPR team and having to start 3 receivers, you're in a good spot, man. I like this team. I like this team. Solid 8.5, solid 9, man. I'm hoping it happens for you, J-Dubs. Yeah, I mean, Drake London, a really favorable strength of schedule to finish out the year. So. All right, guys, we've been going for over an hour and a half, so I'm going to start winding things down. I got to do a couple chores. I got to do a little bit of editing before bed. So, a great stream tonight. I appreciate you guys coming out, man. Tonight's stream has been, I mean, that felt like 5 or 10 minutes. We've been flying through it. Tons of great fantasy questions tonight. Thank you guys so much for all the fantasy questions. Thank you guys for keeping the fantasy conversation going in the chat and for helping each other out. Guys, we have must-start kickers out by Steven. Must-start defenses out by must-start defenses out by Steven. I've got must-start running backs out for you guys. I'm going to be dropping must-start wide receivers, must-start quarterbacks, and must-start tight ends for tomorrow. Changing up the content a little bit this week so we can focus a little bit more on streaming, getting your guys' specific rosters. Then at the end of the week, probably still going to do some rankings for running backs and receivers, and probably rankings for quarterbacks and tight ends as well. So changing it up a little bit this week as we navigate through the fantasy playoffs. But plenty of content out for you guys. Make sure you guys go check it out. And make sure to go check out the kickers and defensive videos by Steven for sure as well. And I'll be on again tomorrow. Thursday night I'll be on with Steven as well. So I'll go ahead and get through the bottom of the chat here, and then I'll be signing off for the night. Kyle, what's up, bro? Yeah, I try to stop by and say what's up to the hustler when I can. Kyle, Knight, Pollard, Monty, pick 2. Full PPR. Love you long time. Love you too, bro. Knight and Pollard. Knight and Pollard for sure. Monty's okay, but overall, Knight and Pollard. Jock Sand, what's up, man? Lineup is Herbert, Cook, Stevenson, Allen, Wilson, Schultz, Pollard. Woo! But I got CD and Mike Williams. Woo! Oh. Start Herbert. Start Cook. Replace Stevenson with Pollard since he's banged up. Call me crazy. Cook's got a really good matchup. Colts have not played well against opposing running backs. Start Keenan Allen. Start Garrett Wilson. Start Schultz. Flex Mike Williams. Oh my gosh. Then you still got CD. Listen, man, I think Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are going to have huge weeks against the Titans. Garrett Wilson's playing great. He's got a great matchup. No matter what you do, your lineup's really, really good. It's really hard to bench a guy like CD, though. Really, really difficult. I think he's going to be... I think the passing game for the Cowboys is going to be more active this week against the Jaguars in an away game. So I just really like the Chargers receivers. I really like Garrett Wilson this week. It's just really hard to bench a guy like Stevenson or Pollard. Great lineup no matter what you do, man. I'm happy Mike Williams is healthy as well, J-Dubs. Anthony, Conklin, Taysom, Ingram. I go Ingram, then Taysom, then Conklin. So reverse. That'd be the order I've had them in. Elliot, we got you. Rich, we got you. Schweimer. I can't pronounce anything. TV, we got you. Thank you guys so much, man. Zeke, Judy, or Christian Watson. Christian Watson for sure. Not even close. But they're all good options. But I go Watson. We trusted Mark Andrews. If you have to. If you have to. J-Dubs, peace out, bro. One last thing. Corey Davis or Watson. Christian Watson for sure. Christian Watson, a must-start player for me this week. Real Goated coming in at the last second of the stream. I'm so sorry, man. It's so good to see you, bro. I'm so sorry, man. We were just signing off, but my A1 Day 1 Real Goated in the house. I appreciate you so much, bro. I'll talk to you soon, man. I hope you made the fantasy playoffs this year, my guy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for tonight's stream. Went for almost 2 hours there, so a great stream overall, man. I appreciate you guys so much, man. Like I said, I got to do some chores, got to do some editing. I got to go to work tomorrow. So I will talk to you guys soon. Great stream tonight. Thank you guys for the fantasy questions. Thank you guys for keeping the fantasy conversation going. Thank you guys for hanging out tonight. Man, smash that like button on the way out. Check out the links down below. Join our Discord if you haven't already. Follow us on Instagram if you have an Instagram and you haven't done so already. Must start kickers out. Must start defenses out. Must start running backs out. Must start wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends coming tomorrow. Running back rankings, wide receiver rankings coming at the end of the week. I'll be on streaming tomorrow. Steve and I will stream Thursday night. It's week 15. Let's get it, guys. Let's go. E111, great to have you. Have a good one as well. I appreciate you guys, man. Love this community. Love the Catch fam. Love you guys. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. With that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch. And